have an incredible, impeccable record actually at Evo Car of the Year competitions. There's just something about the raw connection you get with these track-bred 911s. But this is a new sort of GT3. Gone is the 6-speed manual box, gone is the old Metzger motor, and in comes CDK and an all-new direct injection engine that revs to 9,000. It doesn't feel as raw as the old car just because this engine, though it screams at the top end, doesn't have the same chuntering, fizzy, frantic feel of the old engine. And the gearbox, of course, makes the car more accessible. So anyone could jump in this GT3 and drive pretty quick. But although some of the low-speed sense of occasion and some of the challenge, it has to be said, has gone out of the GT3, when you wind it up, it is something else, this car. The balance and the grip and stability when you're changing direction is astonishing. It's got four-wheel steering now, this car, and although you don't feel it at work, what you feel is the agility it gives the car, and that puts it on a different level to everything else here in terms of grip and speed across the ground. It is unreal. So what the GT3 allows you to do is really attack. It gives you all the tools to use all of its performance, all of its grip, and it's just so addictive when you do. The way it takes the road apart it is on another level to the cars here. I think the SLS might be able to match it when you're feeling really brave, but the way this car just floats across the ground is immense. It really is. It's just transparent, that's the word. The steering is not as good as the old GT3, but you're so locked into the chassis and it's so agile that almost doesn't matter, and it's just hugely exciting, this car. The 991 for us is more GT car than sports car really. It's not a classic 911 by any means, not in our opinion. The GT3, definitely a sports car again. This thing, so accurate, so much fun. It's going to be so tough to beat this thing. Finally we come to this, the Ferrari F12, which is undoubtedly the maddest car we have driven in 2013. It has the killer drivetrain. It is so fast, and when it's a bit damp like it is now, it is just nuts. In fact, it's nuts in the dry. In the wet, well, you have to be so careful. The way it changes direction is mad. It's just got an agility about it that you just wouldn't believe for such a powerful front engine rear wheel drive car. There's a bit more body roll than you'd get on the SLS. I actually think the steering is too quick because this car's so fast, and so often you're sliding it, dry or wet, that you want a bit more relaxation in the wheel, so you've got a bit of margin for error really. This car does not do margin for error. You have to be on it, absolutely on it, otherwise it is going to eat you. So it's really the drivetrain that defines this car. The engine is unhinged. There is no other way to describe it. It is unhinged. And this twin clutch box is ferociously fast. This is going to be a sort of GT car really, but it might not have an engine in the back, but it's as mad as any supercar has ever been, I think. Turn everything off, it's a monster. Huge fun, but a monster. But use the Manatino thing, get it on race, and it gives you enough adjustability, but with a bit of a safety net, so you can exploit some of the performance, or most of the performance, and get some insight into its character. But sooner or later, you're going to want to drive this car with everything off, because it is one of the great motoring experiences. So that's it, our 8 contenders for Evo's Car of the Year 2013. It is an amazing bunch of cars. And it's tighter than it's ever been. Certainly tighter than I ever remember. So now we've all got to have one last drive and try and figure out which of these mad cars is the best car we've driven in 2013.
After a week like this on these roads with these cars, trying to sum up each one and rank them in a logical order seems almost impossible. I mean, SLS Black or GT3? Both please. Then there's the hilarious, unstoppable Works GP, the sheer insanity of the F12 fully lit, and the pure class of the R8 Plus. Let's just say you would be happy, ecstatic even, to have any and all of these cars. Well, perhaps with the exception of one. Sadly, the 4C just didn't cut it in this incredibly tough test. We love the concept and the styling, but the execution just isn't there. Personally, I hate the engine, and others on the team felt as strongly about the odd and inconsistent steering. Carbon fibre it might be, but it left with the old-fashioned wooden spoon. The rest were much harder to separate, and in the end it was tiny details that started to whittle down the contenders. The Cayman was too long geared, and in the wet its lack of steering feel and appetite for turn-in oversteer made it tricky to drive smoothly. The Mini, one of my personal favourites, couldn't quite match the thrills of the big hitters for some of the judges. The Audi split opinion. Many of us had it in our top 3, but some felt its brilliance was undoubted, but perhaps it lacked the fierceness of the rest. The Aston's automated paddle shift manual box came in for some criticism, but by now we're really nitpicking. So the 3 still standing are SLS Black Series, GT3 and F12, perhaps inevitably so. For me, the Merc Edge passed the Ferrari with better body control, far more feelsome steering, and because it simply felt lighter and, get this, more special. Others had the F12 at the top because of that engine. It is extraordinary, and ultimately it snuck ahead of the big bad Merc on the score sheets. Then there was the GT3. Some said it was a shade too clinical, some wondered if you needed to be going too hard to enjoy it regularly on the road, and more than once somebody would mention the old manual gearbox, and we'd all agree that we missed it. But while we might miss some of the old GT3's race car vibe, the new car offers even more control, even finer balance, and a suppleness that allows you to enjoy it on any road. That engine at 9,000 RPM is pretty special too. It felt light, small, totally controlled, and yet brilliantly agile and adjustable. It felt unbeatable. And it was. The 991 GT3 is Evo's Car of the Year 2013, and if you still don't understand why, then just immerse yourself in this.